Drive on ESPN. Talk about the edge position. You're not extremely deep there, and just what the plans are. The ball's working.
Yeah. So the edge position, first of all, we understand how critical that position is, especially with a versatile defense. Derek Hall, Eku Leota, and Dylan Brooks, are the primary guys right now. We're using a few other guys. Hayden Bryce has come over to our side of the ball, but we're not waiting around to solve that depth problem. We're actively seeking it. And in a couple of different ways. Certainly recruiting, looking for it, and then also within the scheme, how can we utilize those guys without burning them out? It's a position that one of our best leaders on this defense is on, Derek Hall, and we got to make sure we put him in great positions to make plays, but we understand that he can't take every rep. So, I don't know if that answers the question, but we understand how important it is. Those guys are doing a great job. First of all, Coach Rock is doing an awesome job with them, but we are also actively seeking depth in a hurry. At the moment, we're probably seeking it at pretty much every second.
Nathan King, Auburn Undercover. You talked last year about kind of the growth of Cam Riley and what he had done in the weight room. And now y'all's roster gets updated again. He's added like 11 more pounds since last year. Just what do you like about the way he's kind of developed as an athlete so far?
Well, really, with him, you see a continued trend. A lot of times with our guys, we're talking about trends. One good day doesn't mean it's been 2 weeks, right? What are they doing consistently? And Cam has done that. He didn't play, probably as much as he wanted to on the defensive side of the ball. However, going into that season, the big thing was gaining weight, gaining experience, and getting used to playing in the box too. That's another thing. Some of the guys we recruit, they're good athletes, and as they get to specific positions, it may not be exactly what they did. Just because that tag said linebacker does not mean you played in the box, and that is a different world. 5 yards off the ball, reading a guard in your back than it is being off the edge and sacking the quarterback, right? But he is a versatile player, and the biggest thing I think that he gained last year was, number one, the experience, and then took that, and there was a hunger after the season. I'll say that. There was a hunger. He wanted to be more active in this defense and play significant minutes, and it showed up. I mean, sometimes people say they want it, but their actions don't always back it up. You see the weight he's gained, and really impressed. I know it was one practice. That doesn't make a trend either, but his current trend as far as his weight, his commitment to what he's doing, is all going in the right direction.
Jason Caldwell, inside the Auburn Tigers.
Good to see you.
How would you describe your philosophy on defense, and then maybe what do you want to see out of the defense in this spring as you kind of head towards the summer and get ready for season?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I mean, when we're talking about philosophy on defense, a lot of people, start thinking about the structure, right, first. So are you a 3-4 and are you a 4-3? Well, we're 3-4 personnel because you always have to organize how you meet with players, right? That's really what it comes down to, whether you're in college, high school, or the NFL. How are you meeting with those guys? How are you recruiting those guys, more importantly, right? Because, when you recruit a 3-4, you're trying to get more of the bodies to the previous question, those edge bodies, which are valuable all over the field. I'll say defensively, certainly, but on special teams, everywhere. So that is why we do recruit, and we start with 3-4 defense. However, I believe you got to be versatile. We're going to play even fronts. We're going to play odd fronts. You got to have 2 highs, 1 highs, just like everybody else. And it kind of depends, are you going to play the smash mouth team with 2 backs, or are they going to spread you out and have a play every 13 seconds? I mean, those are 2 different things that you're working against. So from a philosophy standpoint, first and foremost, Coach has a hardcore foundation of what he believes in defense, and we are 100% aligned on that. I mean, we want to be relentless. We want to show up in your dreams a little bit, right? So we talk about just that relentless effort all the time, but it really boils down to stopping the run, first and foremost, and all these are defined on how we do that for our players. But then when you stop the run, you earn the right to pressure and confuse the quarterback, and in this game, and as we know, some of the players in this league, it's got to be a pre and post snap attack on the quarterback, and that is one of the things this spring we are certainly trying to improve is our pre-snap presentations and not always being in that once the ball is snapped. Now everybody works on that, right? So it's not unique to us. It's just one of the emphasis in that department, you know. And then after pressure confuse the quarterback, we talk about eliminating explosive plays. I mean, if you watch any football game, rarely does a team go 3 yards in a cloud of dust all the way down the field. There was an explosive play, or they scored from you know, a distance where it became an explosive touchdown, right? So stop the run, pressure confuse the quarterback, eliminate explosives, and then it's all about the ball. I mean, we know how important, and you hear it every time you watch a game, how important takeaways are, right? And so again, we're actively seeking those things. We are making it a big deal in practice, a big deal whether or not it is a true takeaway. If that ball's on the ground, we're picking it up. And I thought the guys for practice one, again, that's not a trend, but they were all in on that. And then the final part of it is relentless finish, and we define it as pursuit, tackling, and takeaways, which all leads to wins. So we kind of go back and I know that's kind of a long answer on the philosophy, but the bottom line is, you know, for us to move further, faster, and play physical and confidence, hey, there's checklists on the way. And we really spent a ton of time. You asked about what we were looking for this spring. Hey, mentality starts with mentality. Okay, so we got to build that mentality. We say relentless, you can say it, but to do it is a different thing. So that's number one. And then it's fundamentals and technique, because you asked again, am I a 3-4 or 4-3 or 4-2-5? You know, if you are not fundamentally sound or technique driven, doesn't matter, right? So we can all go up and draw a blitz, but if you got a bunch of players that don't understand how to do those things, it's going to be a bad-looking blitz at the end of the day. So we are looking to make sure we all understand those things. And then competition. You know, that's kind of the central theme on us. You know, I know there's certain positions, to the previous question, that we don't have as many bodies, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of guys on the defense that can play in multiple spots. And so, you know, you can look at it as a problem, and it certainly is. And we are actively seeking, like I said, to recruit to that position. However, it will give us an opportunity to create more competition and some different looks where we can possibly see what somebody could do in that spot. So not just in that spot, but in all spots. So competition is a big deal this spring.
Yeah, Brian Stoltz, AuburnSports.com. You speak of competition with Roger gone as the #1 corner, kind of defensive player of the year for him.
Yeah.
How do you go about finding that next guy that can cover, you know, the top receiver on the on all these teams?
Yeah, well, I you know, it doesn't happen certainly overnight. And Roger, you know, I was smiling when he said that because just watched his pro day yesterday. It looked great. It looks phenomenal. I'm really happy for him. And but as you go, it started when the season ended. You know, it started in the weight room. It started in position meetings. I mean, Coach Etheridge is doing a great job of, again, going back to the competition and understanding fundamentals and techniques, and then, you know, be demanding. I mean, we're demanding staff. We're not demeaning to them, but we're demanding. And that position, man, you are out there on an island. You know, I always say it's you know, everybody talks about stopping the run. I'll tell you, you stop the run a lot better when you got two corners out there covering. You can put them all in the box. It's just a numbers game at that point, right? So we understand how important that position is too. And guys are competing right now, and we brought some others to compete. So you know, as the practices go, I think we'll start to see, you know, who rises to those occasions. It's a little hard to say in practice one because we were very aware that practice one came off spring break, right? So we were smart with opening things up, you know, full speed the whole practice. When they come off that, you know, you got to be smart in terms of soft tissue injuries and things like that. But as today's practice gets going, and the rest of these, we're going to see where that competition goes.
Jeff, Christian Clemente with Rivals. Brian talked about him a little bit on Monday. Caleb Wooden had a good first practice. What have you seen out of him just since he got on campus and now kind of in the weight room and now into spring practice?
Man, with him, I think it starts with energy. You know, he's got a good vibe about him, and you get around him, you know, and I think that's something to be said, obviously, for how he was raised and things like that. But you know, we talk to our guys, like, ultimately you're judged or remembered by how you make people feel, man. When that guy's in the room, there's more energy. That's the bottom line, and he wants to be really, really good. And you know, just like any young player, he doesn't know what he doesn't know, but he is actively trying to learn everything he possibly can, and he brings juice to whatever he does. You know, he's been really enjoyable so far, and I think he's got a really big upside. You know, it's too early again to say for sure, but we're excited about him.
Mark Murphy from Inside the Auburn Tigers. When Nehemiah Pritchett got here, he was a skinny, real
Yes.
confident freshman. What do you expect from him as a senior now that he's played a lot of football?
You know, yeah, that's we actually were just talking about that the other day, and he told me what he weighed when he got here, so skinny for sure. But you know, I've been impressed with him. Again, I think our strength staff, well, let me say this, did an excellent job, and the players, the buy-in to that work was tremendous, and the numbers that we improved across the board have just shown the commitment. You know, we talk about everybody being aligned, everybody committed, but sometimes data helps prove that. So he is one of those guys that when you went down there towards the end when they were doing their maxes, it was like looking at a different person. And we know there is no question about his speed. I mean, he can run, but to be a complete football player, you know, having some more of that body armor and things like that. And I also see the confidence. You know, he's not a real loud type of player off the field, but he is one of our guys in our we have like a little leadership group on defense, and he has stepped into that role, and we expect a lot out of him. You know, we talk about, you know, on defense, you know, what's your position? Well, everybody's a football player. You can't just be a cover corner. They're going to find a way to make you tackle. You know, they're going to shift the formation. They do whatever they do. Everybody's got to tackle. Everybody's got to stop the run, and everybody's part of pressure to fuse the quarterback. And I think he's going to be a more complete player. He can certainly cover and he can certainly run, but I like what I see with his effort and you know, opportunity for some leadership in there too.
Well, let's go ahead and stick with the secondary. Who's getting work and getting looks at nickel?
Nickel, so Donovan Kaufman, you know, started out at the nickel, and then we're rotating some of the guys. I mean, ideally, so to me there's two types, right? There's you know, third down, you know, it's your extra corner. A lot of times you hear the NFL, it's your best corner, the next best corner, right? But there is some run fit aspect to that. So we're working between safeties and corners at the nickel position and rotating it. Some guys are going to get some of that work on certain days and some are on other days, because it is a young group. Well, let me say that it is a talented group. I think the group can run. From an athleticism standpoint, we're good, but we want to make sure they have a complete understanding of defense. And to do that, we need a couple of different guys to rotate in those spots. You know, Caleb being one of them, and we're going to move it around a little bit to make sure that if we need guys in that spot, it's not the first time they've done something. The big focus from a teaching standpoint for us is, you know, how do we teach the fundamentals and football school? That starts in January. Okay, so we have a whole series of football school that they go to try to make us, we believe, smarter players play faster and all those things, right? So, but then it's hardcore fundamentals and technique. So like we could draw up any scheme, but if it's the same technique, it's same as to the player and they can play fast. And so, you know, if you don't put guys in that spot, then it's always brand new to them. You know what I'm saying? So we are rotating a little bit, and it's really you kind of name it on the secondary. They're going to get a little piece of that. You know, we are going to play guys that they're enough to get good at it too. So I'm not saying like every day there's a new nickel, but you know, our offense does a whole lot of things. You know, they're 12 personnel, they're 11 personnel, and they keep it moving. So you have to have some guys that can fit the run and also cover. Nehemiah being one of them too.
Take a few more.
Jeff, with some of the defensive line departures y'all have had, what kind of opportunity does that give some of the guys that are still there, like a Zakibas, who obviously didn't get a lot of opportunities last year because of his injury? Just what do you expect out of him and some of those guys that were maybe the number twos last year having a chance to get into the rotation more?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, one of the things that we talk about is the tip of the spear is that defensive line. In this conference, we're all understand how important that is. Zacchaeus has had a great offseason. You know, he's battled some things, you know, obviously, like you mentioned last year. But we brought some guys in there too, and competition is certainly the central theme up front. And depth is always something that you're looking at, but especially in this conference, and I'll say that anywhere. I mean, been in different conferences and things like that, but it's certainly amplified in this one with as good as the offense and defensive lines are, and you need them to be. But Zacchaeus, Burks, all those guys, Jason Jones, Emba, he's not practicing right now, but I'm excited for when he does. Let's put it that way. And Colby Wooden, he right there. He and Marcus Harris are kind of the leaders in that room, and that's another thing. And I brought up a little bit that we're looking to improve. I think the team's been fortunate to be around good coaches and good players and win some championships at whatever the level may be. Its leadership is a difference maker, but I think we're in better position to get that in year 2. It's hard in year 1, and it's no excuse, but it's you are learning the norms in year 1. When you know the norms, some of those guys can stand out and hold others accountable. And first you got to lead by example. But I do think there's some guys in that room that have that chance to take the next step, especially when now you bring young recruits in and they can say, okay, that's how you do it. That's the thing. I got the opportunity to be at a practice with the Rams a few years ago and watch Aaron Donald practice. I'm not comparing anybody to Aaron Donald, but I'm just saying if you see how he practices and how guys gravitate to what he's saying and paying attention and showing guys what's important, there's a reason why teams are successful, and it's usually passed down from older guys. But again, in year 2, you got a much better chance to do that because they already understand the norms.
Coach Rick Sketsy from WRBO. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is your defense. You got a game plan for teams like Georgia,
Yep.
Alabama, the SEC West, and lots of that is. What excites you most about this opportunity?
Man, I don't know if I have the words about what specifically excites me the most about the opportunity. I'd say all of it. It's the opportunity, number one, to be a defensive coordinator. I mean, that's really when I started coaching at the college level. That's really what I wanted to be. It'd be nice to be a head coach and all those things, but I've always that's what I've wanted to be: run a defense and be able to teach, recruit, develop, and advance players' careers. I mean, that's really what it's all about, right? But what am I excited about? I'm excited to compete in this position in the best conference in college football. That's the bottom line, right? And I love I was fortunate to be under Coach Mason and be here last year because I think when there's some familiarity, it does help. It does help. Like, I understand the players, I know the players, so that part gets you further faster. There's no doubt about that. I'm excited about our staff, but bottom line is if you're in this business, you're a competitor. And I think at the end of the day, being able to compete again at the highest level and do it with the man that we're doing it with and being aligned with a vision that you believe in. I mean, that's a big deal to me. You can coach all over the place at the highest level or not, but I think who you're working with and working for makes a difference. And when the vision is clear and you believe in that vision, man, it makes it easy to step on the gas every day. But I know, again, that's a kind of a long answer, but when you ask exactly what it is, it's all of it.
Take 2 more, Mark and then Hoke.
Yeah, could you talk about the linebackers this spring? You lost your top 2 tacklers, and then that one's going to have to watch, it looks like, a lot. So what are the opportunities for the other guys that we're expecting from them?
Yeah, so, I haven't worked with those guys last year, and again, Jacoby and Chandler did a great job yesterday, excited for them, and, one thing, with that, you lose some leadership too. However, Owen, he's not practicing right now, but in the long run, that's going to be the best thing because, they're getting those things fixed. And, there's a guy, I will say, that's not practicing, but is as locked in and as diligent about everything he does as I've seen, really. He takes care of his body. It's an opportunity to lead in a little different way than maybe he wants to, but he's a kid that's learning the game even as he's watching. A lot of guys can't do that. He does that, you know. And Coach Robinson is doing a great job with those guys. Again, I don't want to sound like coach speak, but it is what it is, right? I mean, it's competition, so you're getting an opportunity for Cam Riley, for Wesley Steiner, for Joko Willis, Eugene Asante that came in, Desmond Tisdale. Like, there's some numbers there in that group. And again, not all of those guys were where they needed to be last year, especially early on, to be in those spots. Well, here's your chance, you know, and we made it really, really clear to them that this is their opportunity and they're going to get reps, you know. And there are also some guys in that group that have some versatility, and when we're structuring the defense and we're a little short in one area, they get an opportunity to play some other spots. And you know, last year we did that a little bit when before OP went down. You know, Chandler was doing so well. Okay, well, you know, again, I think guys get too tied to the scheme, and it's really about players at the end of the day. So if our best players were at that position, we were going to play more of those guys at that time, right? So then OP went down, and we kind of went back to what it was. But gives us an opportunity, them an opportunity, and you know, they got to run with it. I mean, the bottom line is, in life, you got to maximize your opportunities. So we're going to see who does it.
Hey, Coach Justin Wilkinson, Auburn Live. I was just going to ask you kind of about the last year, what it's been like, you know, from arriving to Auburn to where you are now. It's been a whirlwind of on the field, off the field, and then you kind of mentioned the vision and being clear in the vision. Do you think the vision's more clear now in terms of what you guys want to do than maybe when you arrived? Just kind of try to.
I mean, so looking at whirlwind for sure, you know, and you throw the year before being COVID. So it's been hectic, but I think and you just mentioned it, I think it really clarifies things more than before, in my opinion. I think let's go back before we were here. We were in that COVID season, and I think we all, if you did it right, you should have reflected on what's important to you. I think values, you can say them, but do you live them, right? And really honing in on what you believe. And then getting here, man, it's a heck of an opportunity, you know, moving your family. There's a lot that goes into it, you know, that people don't see. But, man, I'll tell you this, that the community has been amazing, and I know there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of things we've all gone through. But, you know, if you're understand who you are and your core, and you truly walk the walk, man, it's just what problem you're going to solve next. I mean, that's how it is. And you know, I heard somebody say, if you just wake up telling yourself that you're going to have to solve problems that day, it makes the day a little bit easier. I think once I heard that, I figured that was right. So, but what I'll say is too, it's been great to see the transition from year one to year two. And a lot of people were a part of that. Not all of them are here right now, but when you take over something, and it's not about what happened before. It's really not, you know, because change is going to happen. It's just going to happen. We've all gone through that, and our job is to help develop the guys to be ready for when it's time to be ready. I always say, like, I want to be best friends with my two boys. You know, I hope I am forever, but my job is parent, right? And they got to be ready when it's time to be ready, and that's kind of on me. So, you know, as long as you look at it the right way, but I can tell you the excitement, the vibe in the building is really good right now. It is really good. But I think it comes too from our players, you know, starting to get a little bit closer. I think that year, and I brought it up earlier about the COVID, is because you were gonna, what was the player gonna do? They got to college, and then you gotta go sit in your dorm room. You don't get to talk to anybody, and we can't sit there and blame them for that, right? I think people are people. Whether, you know, people talk about this generation or that, and I don't want to go too far on all this stuff, but really the difference is technology, right, and the circumstances. So we're coming out of that. We're getting back into a swing of things of how hopefully the norm should be. And again, I'm really excited for this practice, to be honest with you, because the vibe is really good right now. Now it's just our job to keep it